Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here back with another Scarlet Violet team building video, and today we're going to be looking at Terapagos. So Terapagos is a pretty strong and solid restricted to use in the upcoming restricted format. It's very oppressive, okay, if you're able to set it up successfully, especially with these Calm Mind boosts that people are using right now. And just look at these stats, right? You know, once you finally terrestrialize it, look at this, 160 HP, 110 in your bulk defenses, and then 130 special attack, right? So very, very good all around. And then the speed, 85, not that fast, not too slow, but again, you don't really need speed on this thing if you're just going to outbulk everything and then just click this move, which is called Terra Starstone, right? Now, just to, again, differentiate the three forms, you're going to get the baby form first, right? And then when you summon it onto the field, Terra Shift is just going to activate here and then transform into this guy, right? And then you get something called Terra Shell, right? Which means basically, you know, once you're at full HP, attacks that you take are just not really going to be very effective, right? So it's almost like the Shadow Shield from something like Lunala, right? So as long as you can keep this thing healthy and at full HP, you're not going to be taking that much damage, which is good, right? And then when you finally terrestrialize it, then you get the big behemoth that is Terapagos Stellar, right? So this is the one that you want to save your Terra for. Because, you know, more times than not, 9 times out of 10, this is the one that you're going to use and commit the terrestrialization for. So just be aware of that, you know, and then that being said, this is something that your opponent can also keep in mind, right? If they know that you have to commit the terrestrialization to Terapagos, then they can take full advantage with their attacks into your own Pokemon, right? So from here, you know, how do we want to build this? Basically, if you can get double fake out pressure to help set up these Calm Minds, that's going to really help, right? Which is why you'll always see Incineroar and Rillaboom on most of your Terapagos teams, just because you always get this fake out and pivot idea where you can always cycle in and out and then just alternate and set up your Calm Minds, right? And then you add Intimidate support, so now you get physical damage reduction and then, of course, special attack damage reduction, and then you get a little bit of healing with the Rillaboom, right? So now Terapagos just becomes relatively hard to remove, right? And then at the same time with Terraform 0, weather effects gone, you blow up terrain, so, you know, Miraidon and stuff like that doesn't want to have to deal with that. So really, really good in terms of that idea, right? And again, once per battle, but that's sometimes once is all you need. And the other thing you also want to keep in mind, right? Like sometimes if you run this leftover set, which is normally common on a Calm Mind set, you know, for a little bit more recovery and alternating your protects because you're just trying to keep setting up these Calm Minds while outbooking the damage. One way to really mitigate that is to go for parting shots and to go for snarls against the opposing Terapagos, right? Which is why I don't think this is the best item anymore. I think it's the second best item. I think now most people are committing to the Covert Cloak because they're sick of getting snarled, right? And then from here, now you get to keep your boost. And then if you keep your boost, you're going to be able to stay on the field and do more damage, right? So a little bit better in terms of board positioning, right? So I got my fake out mons, right? And now how do I keep it healthy? So this is where something like Comfey comes in. And this is like a very easy way to build Terapagos right now in the early get-go of regulationG. Right, you get to set up Trick Room, which is good speed control. You know, Terapagos is not that fast, and so is Incineroar, not that fast either. Then you get Broken +3 Triage Floral Healing, right? So this way, Terapagos gets to stay at full health, okay? And then at the same time, you know, outbulk the damage, keep setting up your Calm Minds, keep going for Floral Healing, and then after that, you can just sweep the opponent, right? Which is why sometimes Comfey often becomes the primary target rather than Terapagos, because you can't break Terapagos if you don't remove the healer, right? So this will take most of the brunt of the damage if your opponent really wants to stop the engine going, right? But anyway, this is like an easy fort to build with, okay? Of course, you'll get stuff like Draining Kiss, okay? And then you can either have Protect or Helping Hand. Either way, I also think you need, you want Mental Herb here just so that, you know, if they want to stop and taunt you and, you know, stop your Trick Room, you get at least one pass to get out of jail, right? Now, they're going to want to taunt this, right? It's because Calm Mind setups is not good. But then at the very least, you can set up the Trick Room in that sense, right? So they can't stop both. They can only stop one if you got both on the field at the same time, right? So I think you always start with this 4. So then from here, these are your last 2 flex slots. And I think, you know, you can always differentiate with how you want to play it. But one thing you also have to keep in mind when you're playing Terapagos is the fact that Zamazenta can give you quite a bit of trouble here, right? Because you got the Steel move for Comfey, You got the fighting move for Terapagos. And Incin is not really going to help you all that much either, unless you Will-O-Wisp it, which you will do. Okay, Rillaboom, not super great either. So you're going to need to improve your Zamazenta matchup or get into a better board state against the Zamazenta, because it is a bit of a tough matchup. And from there, everything else is like pretty solid and pretty standard, right? So those are my initial pointers, right? So now let me show you some starter builds. So this way, this will inspire your own team building and give you some ideas if you want to use our Terapagos squads. All right, so let's round out some of these squads. Okay, so after you have these guys, right, the easiest way to round it out is to add something like this. You need your Kyogre matchup. So Ogerpon Wellspring was chosen. And then from here, you have the Urshifu single strike. So this will also help your Calyrex matchup, right? And again, you have Fake Out Wicked Blow, right? Which is a very, very strong move, okay? You can even do Water Ursh and something like Flutter Mane or Raging Bolt, which we'll show you in a second. But these are like interesting ideas. Now, again, this kind of stuff, it's pretty good, but it doesn't really help you against Zamazenta all that much. Yes, you have Close Combat Urshifu, but if that thing is going for iron defenses, you're not going to be able to hit it all that well. So either way, you have to catch it without some of those boosts, and then maybe chip it quite a bit with something like Incin or your Terapagos, and then, potentially KO it, right? But so it is still rather hard. And if it has Amoongus, then you're in trouble because then the Zamazenta is a little bit safe. But at the very least, other than that kind of matchup, it's still like pretty solid and pretty easy to build around. So we'll just do it first. All right, so from here, again, Terra Star Form, Calm Mind, Protect, of course, Earth Power. This way, so you can hit things that are resistant to the Terra Star Form, right? Like, the Steel types and even the Ghosts, right? So you have something there. The Incineroar, Safety Goggles, just in case, against another Amoongus when you click Trick Room. Fake Out, Flare Blitz, Parting Shot, and then I do like Will-O-Wisp here. So you do give up knockoff, but that's why you have Urshifu single strike here. So, you have that guy for dark coverage. And against things that have Clear Amulet, where it's not so easy to cycle in your Intimidates, you kind of have to just punish them by burning them, right? So imagine, the Koraidons and the Groudons running around with their Clear Amulets, and then also the Calyrexes. So, if you just burn them, then they don't do any damage. They hit like wet noodles. So that's really why you'll see a lot more Incineroars running Will-O-Wisp this time around in regulationG. All right. Of course, this one is a Rillaboom with an Assault Vest set. Very standard here with Fake Out, Grassy Glide Priority, and Terrain Overrider, right? Of course, against Miraidon stuff. And then here's your Pivoter with U-Turn, and then a little bit of damage with Woodhammer against something like Kyogre, right? So sometimes these two might come both into Kyogre matchups. Comfey here, we've already established. Ogerpon here, pretty standard set already with Ivy Cudgel, Horn Leech, Follow Me, your Redirector, and Spiky Shield, right? So you can redirect Zamazenta attacks, right? But sometimes Amoongus is just better here in this slot because you're able to resist that kind of stuff. And then from there, hopefully Terapagos can set up enough where you can just really put some big damage into that thing, right? But then after that, Urshifu, with just a Focus Sash here, Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker Punch, right? And then just straight Protect, right? And then for your Terra types, you can go Terra Dark for a little bit more damage. You can also go Terra Poison, for that Fairy Resist, right? And then Rillaboom here, Terra Fire, also pretty good. Great into the Ice matchups, and also the Flying stuff, you're able to resist that. And also Fire, right? Can't get burned yourself. Incin, also Ghost with the Fighting move altogether. Just watch out for the other opposing Calyrex matchup. But this is also pretty good against, like, again, another Terra Star Form. But just keep in mind, however, that thing will still blow you up, right? Because of what it can do with Terra Star Storm. So don't Terra in front of it, right? And then do it, right? Because then you get nuked. So just be aware with your opposing Terras, okay, guys? All right, so how do we want to round out these EV spreads? I think you can go like pretty standard with a lot of these mons, right? So let's start with Incineroar here. Let's work backwards here. Let's just go Adamant 2v2. You have a Sash. You don't really need to do anything else. All right, I go 176 here rather than the Spidef just in case, because again, I have Rillaboom here, so I can optimize my Grassy Terrain recovery because 176, again, divided by 16. If you do a little bit of quick math, or if you use your calculator, it's going to give you a perfect 11 HP recovery in grassy terrain, whereas this gives you 10.9. It rounds it down, so you're only getting 10 HP recovery. So don't shortchange yourself. Give yourself that 1 extra HP for a little bit more recovery. Sometimes it makes a difference, right? The Ogre Pond over here, again, I still play this thing pretty standard. I still use the same set that I use in Regulation F, more or less. I do this so I can survive the other Urshifu single strike. I go to the benchmark here in Adamant Nature, a little bit of speed, even number here in the Speed F, and then just dump the rest here into speed. So again, when I say benchmark here, when I say bump, right, that's this point over here where the stat increases by 2 points rather than 1. And there's 3 distinct points here within that 252 bar, you know, because I am Adamant Nature. And again, if you're trying to play competitive Pokemon and you don't know how to correct or even suggest or even make EV spreads from scratch like what we're doing here, make sure you comment in the video description below what are EV bumps, because they are a very fundamental skill to understand when you're trying to create EV spreads like this. All right, so if you ask what are EV bumps, I will reply to you, so this way you can better understand and do it yourself, you know, because it's an important skill, okay? Comfey, same thing. I'm going to go to those bumps, right? I'm going to go Calm Nature right over here. Where's that Calm Nature? Yeah. So I want a little bit more speed. You know, again, Calyrex is running around right about this much. This makes it so that the Astro Barrage is a 3-hit KO, which is kind of funny. And then over here, just dump the rest into defense. Rillaboom here. You know, again, Adamant Nature. Let's go to the third bump here, right, with 196 investments, 132 HP for the 192 optimal terrain recovery, and then, you know, no speed, maybe just 1 point. You know, Indeedee Wars are an interesting idea. 52 defense, and then just dump the rest here in Speed F, right? So, you know, I wanted an even number here, you know, because I have an Assault Vest. So, you know, just to optimize and maximize that. And then the 52 over here, this is pretty good against extreme speed shenanigans, right? Just for a little bit more added bulk, along with your Incineroar, which is next up here. Careful Nature Incin, the way to go when there's a Calyrex running around. Second benchmark here, second bump. Then we go right here to about 200, okay? Yeah, and then just 1 point in the attack. Same Incin spread that I've always run, you know, for a very long time. I just keep things very standard with my Incin. This set has never failed, even in like Sword and Shield. It's just pretty solid and pretty standard. All right, Terapagos over here. So basically with this guy, you know, again, just modest nature. I like to go, this is the first bump. Let's go 156 for the second one. But because, you know, I'm clicking Calm Minds, I kind of want an even number over here. So let's go 188. Okay, and now this is good, you know, a nice even solid number, because if I have an odd number like this, then it'll just round it down, right? Because it's a decimal times 1.5. So let me get an even number here like this. Don't really need that much speed, maybe just 1 point here. 164 investment for the, again, the Rillaboom terrain. You needed 224. We already surpassed that. So let's go right here. I like this much. This is all I really need out of Terapagos. Because again, if you just do some quick math, like we said, 256 divided by 16 is 16, right? 16 HP recovery. And then about 84 is pretty good. 84 defense, I would say, is not too bad. I was calcing for the, whatchamacallit, Koraidon collision course is what I meant, right? So, you know, because of that, I realized I needed it a little bit more to survive it, just in case my Terraform wasn't working all that much. But again, I just put a little bit more in defense, you know, to better take the Adamant collision course from Koraidon. And then just dump the rest in Speed F. And again, if you want a nice even number here, because again, this is the Calm Mind stuff, you can just drop this by 1 point here and then just put this over here. And now I get that nice solid even number here in Speed F. And this is our Terapagos set. So pretty bulky all around. Because again, you're clicking these Calm Minds and then you just need this bulk to be able to take those hits, right? So at first matters, this was the proposed Terapagos 6, right? Just because, again, you get double fake out with healing with Comfey. That's the big four. Again, Fire, Water, Grass Core, and then matchup specific stuff. Like, again, this is for Kyogre, this is for Lunala, and even Calyrex Shadow. The Will-O-Wisp is for burning some of those other physical restricted. So this is pretty good. Set up and enable Terapagos, right? So then from here, you have some other options in terms of your other two slots. So let me show you those. But first, let's take a look at a couple quick games here. All right, so this is against the Koraidon Tailwind stuff. This is actually one of our building videos coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. But basically, you just have to watch out for Amoongus here. And again, he's enabling his Flutter Mane and his Chi-Yu here, as well as his Raging Bolt. It's a really, really nice 6, I gotta say, right? I've played some games with that 6, and I had a lot of fun. It's a very aggressive team. Okay, either way, if you burn the Koraidon, you're in good shape. So here we go, instant Terapagos. Let's get Intimidate. Let's get Fake Out going. He's got Amoongus Raging Bolt, right? He's figuring, the Trick Room stuff, but he's going for this. So I don't want to get spored immediately, so I just want to Fake Out that Amoongus first. Snarl, this is the benefit of, again, the Covert Cloak, which this is why you use it. And now this was basically a free Calm Mind, right? So that's really, really nice. And then what you can even do here is Terra and then just blow things up here and force the Amoongus to Terra himself. But, we just want to protect and just immediately remove the Amoongus. I felt like I should have been aggressive there with the Terapagos, but I missed it out, right? So here comes Koraidon here. Again, another fighting type that can do a lot. So I made the switch into the Comfey here. I feel like, oh, okay, I'm a little bit out of position here. So I'm able to survive, thankfully, because Comfey is a monster, and I do get to burn the Koraidon, which is very, very good for me. And that goes a long way. So now he goes into Raging Bolt, okay? And I have to preserve the Comfey for later, so I'm just going to reposition my board. And he goes for Moonblast here. So let me just Parting Shot the Flutter and go right back into Terapagos here. A little bit better of a spot. So follow me. You already know what comes next. He goes for a Taunt, which is smart. Again, if he can get it off, but, we don't drop, and we're able to redirect that, and we go for that Calm Mind boost here. So now we can wall both of these relatively well. But I'm just going to protect first. He goes for Moonblast. He actually goes for the double here, especially with Draco. And I wanted the Ogerpon to die, so this way I can get the Comfey in, but he let it live, which meant I did big damage into the Flutter here, right? So now he goes into Koraidon here, and which is totally fine because now he's burned. I'm really okay with this. I just go into Incin here, potential Fake Out next turn, ideally. Terra, and then again, I Terrasilize. This is +1, by the way. Okay. All right, he goes for Draco. It's not going to do a whole lot here, and now the Raging Ball is not doing that much, and that's pretty decent damage, with Terra Starstorm, right? It's okay. Then he goes into Flutter, which is fine. Okay. Again, there's the Protect, which is still okay. I just wanted to Fake it out and get up another Calm Mind. So now I just walled the Flutter and the Raging Bolt completely. This Koraidon is burned. He can't do any damage anymore. Right, there's the Terra Fairy. Okay, I could have even tried to blow things up here, because I know he can't really do a whole lot of damage. He goes for the Instant anyway. So I guess that's me. I should have just been more aggressive, right? But I was a little bit passive with Terapagos here. But here comes Comfey. I wanted the Comfey in. So now I get to click Floral Healing, get back to full. And now Terapagos can kind of finish things off here, right? There's the Terra Starstorm. Big damage against, of course, the Flutter. And Koraidon and Raging Bolt, they're just not going to be doing enough damage, especially now that I got Ogerpon redirecting everything, right? So this is pretty much all she wrote here. He's going to go for the Flare Blitz, and again, that's still not even enough to get rid of the Ogerpon. And E-Webs finally does, but again, with Terapagos clicking Terra Starstorm, everything just dies, and, we pretty much just wrap up that game. All right, so another kind of build that you can even do if you don't want the Ogerpon, Wellspring, and the Urshifu is just to go with something like this. You can still do, Raging Bolt here, right? And I think it makes a lot of sense. You can do Raging Bolt here, and then you can even do Flutter Mane here, right? And there's lots of different ways where you can play these two, but ultimately, I just want my Raging Bolt to be the Assault Vest user and to be the Snarler, right? So that means we're going to change up the Rillaboom set a little bit, because now this is going to be Miracle Seed Rillaboom, which is still fine. It's going to do a lot more damage, right? We just have to give it a little bit more bulk. But ideally here with Raging Bolt, again, Thunderclap, okay, is going to be good. Then Draco, Meteor is pretty good. One big nuke. Snarl, of course, like we said, and then just straight up Thunderbolt, right? And Terra Fairy is pretty solid. Okay, then with Flutter Mane here, now what's really popular and what's rising again is now it's just this Sash Flutter Mane set where you have Moonblast, Taunt, right, and then Icy Wind, and then Protect. So like support Flutter, okay, with Terra Fairy, and then you just go 252, 252. Okay, so this Flutter won't be doing as much damage as like our Specs Flutters in the past, but at least you get a Sash, and now you get Taunt, and you still get a fast Icy Wind, which is important this time around, right? Raging Bolt, again, Snarl against Calyrex is punishing, all right? And then, Electric Dragon typing, you get to sit in frent of Kyogre and not really care all that much. and then everything else is staying the same except for Rillaboom with Miracle Seed. So what we'll do is we'll make this back to 116. Let's take away that attack, right? Because it's already like pretty good. Let's go ahead and add more into HP here. I think we can even take away some of this defense here, right? Just add a little bit more in HP like this. And then let's add 1 point in Spidef like that, right? So it's more or less the same Rillaboom idea, just less attack, more HP, because again, I have Miracle Seed to compensate. And then from here, Raging Bolt, again, just super bulky. Let's go modest. Let's go right here. Here's the benchmark. Let's go 108. All right. We don't really need Spidef all that much. We can even just go like this much in speed, you know, just for the mirror. 188 for Rillaboom terrain, right? 224 is optimal for the grassy terrain Rillaboom, and just dump the rest here in defense. This is great against Chanpao Ice Spinner, right? And even Icicle Crash, even if you don't have the Terra, of course, right? Which is good. Then over here, Fluttermane, again, like we said, it's 252 Sash. So this is like another way you can do this, where the Comfey can heal like Raging Bolt stuff. Raging Bolt can be supporting, you know, with Snarls. You have Intimidate, Fake Out, and Will-O-Wisp, Parting Shot. Lots of damage mitigation on this team. You know, more or less disruption stuff. And then Terapagos should be able to safely set up Calm Minds this way. Again, just keep in mind, you know, Zamazenta, but you do have a Fluttermane now. So that's going to help you in that sense, just because, you know, Zamazenta has fighting in its typing, right? And then Raging Bolt, same thing. You can wall that Behemoth Bash stuff all in all, right? So not too bad. A little bit better, I would say. And then this 6 still works. So let's look at a test game here. All right, I remember this. So this is the Lunala stuff, right? And something like Snarl is going to be great, as well as setting up Calm Minds, because then the Lunala can't really break you. And then even the Landers can't really break you, right? So Raging Bolt can play a role here. He has to bring the Landers, in my opinion. Otherwise, Raging Bolt is just free to click Snarl and stuff. So I did have to be aware of that. I didn't quite play this perfectly. I made some mistakes here, but we were still able to pull itself out here. So I go with Raging Bolt Comfey here, just to try and set up Trick Room. Okay, he goes with Landers Tornadus. So that's okay. All right, he goes with a Taunt, but that's fine. This is why you run Mental or Comfey, all right? Then we go Earth Power. We live this because we are super bulky. And then we click Snarl. Everything is -1. And now we get to set up the Trick Room, right? But Raging Bolt is not in the greatest of spots. So I'm just going to go into Terapagos. I remembered that, you know, my Floral Healing is +3. So, you know, it doesn't really work here because I'm full. So I'm just going to have to take some damage. He goes for Taunt. Of course, re-Taunt it. Earth Power, a little bit of damage, right? But then he's -1. So it's not really doing a whole lot. So he goes into Rapid Strike here. That's fine. I chip it with Draining Kiss. I do pretty good damage. And now he taunts Terapagos, so now I can't click Calm Mind. I was testing him there. So I'm just going to Terra Stella. I'm just going to try and deal as much damage as I can. He goes for the Water Ursh. We chip that. And then we pretty much just go Terra Starstorm. So nice job on the Water Ursh. I don't know why he did that, but we don't have to worry about it. Bleak Wind. Again, we're in Trick Room, so I'm totally fine with that. Here comes Lunala here. Again, Wide Guard is great, because now, you know, we can't really click our move. But we do remove his Shadow Shield at the very least. So I have that going for me. But again, these Wide Guards are interesting. But if he's clicking Wide Guard, he's not clicking an attack. So that's all you have to remember, right? And now he can only taunt 1. So I'm just going to keep clicking for healing here. He taunts the Terapagos. I wasn't going for Calm Mind here, right? And there's his Meteor Beam. Okay. Decent damage into Comfey. Even at +1, it's still not doing that much. Look at that Terra Starstorm damage. It's pretty nice. I'm going to go Raging Bolt here. I just want to, because I know he's going to go for Wide Guard again. And now's a good opportunity to heal my Raging Bolt, right? And to try and deal some damage into this thing, you know, with Snarl, and just keep clicking for healing. He has to keep clicking Taunt, right? So I go into Incin, okay? There's the Bleak Wind, all right? I don't think he clicks another Meteor Beam because he already used up his power. There's the Moongeist Beam. We do drop, but that is okay because now here comes Terapagos, okay? He taunts, not... That, again, does not matter. Here comes the Meteor Beam. If this is Incin, he can't get this off because he already used it. So it does live on 1. So I was a little bit surprised by that. Here comes Landorus. And there's the Earth Power. Incin does get removed, unfortunately for me. And there goes the Meteor Beam. So I did have to take that much damage. But, you know, after Terra Starstorm, the Landorus can't really break me. And here comes Comfey. And this is pretty much all she wrote, where I just heal this thing back to full. And like I said, the Landers can only go for 1. He goes for the Comfey, but that means Terapagos is just here to click whatever it wants and finish the game. So another idea that also works with Terapagos is, again, this idea with Cresselia instead of Comfey, right? And more or less the same idea, where you still get something like Trick Room, okay, to, you know, give yourself that speed control. But then at the same time, you also get Lunar Blessing, I'm sorry, right? So that's pretty good. And again, still Mental Herb over here. So now you're even bulkier than Comfey, right? And then you get stuff like Moonblast, right? And then you get stuff like, whatchamacallit, Helping Hand here. So this is also not bad into Zamazenta, right? Because the body presses are not going to be doing that much against Cresselia. Okay, so that, and then you have Moonblast ideas, right? So that can help you somewhat. And then, you know, you can also give yourself even more bulk by going for Grimmsnarl. And I think Grimmsnarl is also really good this format, even more so than the previous formats. Again, just screens along with Intimidate support, along with Will-O-Wisp, is very good. So now Terapagos is doing even less damage. I'm sorry, is even better to set up because it's even bulkier. And then over here, then you just round things off with Urshifu Single Strike here, right? So it comes back here. Again, you can't ignore Fake Out Wicked Blow here. And if you want, you could even go like Fake Out Surging Strikes for that Fire, Water, Grass core idea, right? Which, again, to me, still makes sense. But, you know, Light Clay here, okay? And then, of course, Spirit Break, more damage reduction along with the screens. Light Screen Reflect. And then you can have Thunder Wave, right, for more speed control, but I was going Parting Shot. So I had double Parting Shot with Grimmsnarl and Instant. It was kind of funny because I was just weakening so much things, and then, you know, it was just easier to set up these Calm Minds, right? And then, of course, Urshifu back to the Sash set with Wicked Blow and stuff. I think I could just import it over here, right? So just make my life a little bit easier. Yeah, there we go. Cress. So Cress, I was going Calm. All right, and again, the main calc here is, you know, can you survive Calyrex, right? So 228, and then this is just right here, 156. This was pretty good. And you just dump the rest here in defense. I think Terra Fairy is pretty good, again, for that reason. And I think we got everything else. Grimmsnarl, you can go Terra Poison. That's also pretty solid. And, you know, just a standard Careful set, right? You know, where you're just doing 236 HP, hit that benchmark, you know, right here at 121, you know, 1 point in the attack. You're not really attacking things. A little bit of speed, right? You know, just for like mirror matchups. But this is it, right? Again, this is a screens, you know, Cresselia idea where, again, you're relying on Cresselia's bulk, all right, along with Trick Room and Lunar Blessing to keep everything alive. Grimmsnarl screens. Now, the only thing with this is it can get a little bit passive just because you have Grimmsnarl, Instant, and Cress. They don't really do that much damage. Most of your damage is coming from Rillaboom and Ursh, right? Terapagos, unless it sets up, it's also not doing that much damage. So this may seem quite a bit passive, but it can work, right? I have tested it, so you just need to get it in the right position. All right, the fourth one that I like, you know, at the given moment is just also giving yourself, again, this Fire, Water, Grass core with Urshifu Rapid Strike here, along with Choice Scarf. So this way you outspeed stuff like Zacian and Fluttermane, and then, you know, just pretty much Surging Strikes, Close Combat, Aqua Jet, and something like, you know, just very, very U-turn, like your other pivot move, right? I think that's also like pretty standard. You know, when you think of Urshifu Rapid Strike here, Terra Water, of course, right? And then after this, Amoongus, right? So Amoongus is pretty good. You know, get rid of the Grimmsnarl here. You can keep that thing to the curve. And I still like Comfey here. Right, Instant Comfey Amoongus for your Trick Room core. I'll bring back the old Comfey set with the Mental Herb stuff. Right, so that's pretty good. And then Amoongus, you know, pretty standard. You know, the same kind of Amoongus set that we've always run. You know, something about like Rocky Helmet. I don't want to put too much berries because Calyrexes are denying berries. So I go with Rage Powder, Pollen Puff, Spore. And what's also pretty good is Clear Smog at this given moment because you get to remove buffs, right, in this type of format, which I think is important. So, you know, Clear Smog Amoongus is on the rise, so be ready for it. Relaxed Nature, again, just defensive Mushroom, just defensive Spore, just defensive Behemoth, right? All right, by the way, Amoongus is an ally, woohoo. All right, and then you put a little bit more in Spidef, right? This is the remainder. Okay, then you just go Terra Water here. Again, pretty good against instant stuff. Comfey, again, we go Terra Steel here, by the way. This is great against poison and steel stuff, just in case that wasn't made before Clear. But look, now you get a Redirector. You get Intimidate, you get Double Fake Out, you get Redirection, you get Trick Room stuff. Okay, this can be either Helping Hand or Protect. Right, I was testing both. it's just all like personal preference stuff. But either way, now the Amoongus can just redirect the Zamazenta stuff. And if anything, you can have Spore pressure against it. And then that's just like free Calm Minds, right? So Fake Outs and Spore will give you those free Calm Minds. And then at the same time, you can just pretty much sweep with this thing. So some good support options. And again, like Urshifu is still like pretty broken. Like these three alone can win you a regional. Like we've seen that already, and it's very proven, right? So now you just have like these support options, and then Terapagos just gets enabled. So let's take a look at a quick game here. All right, so this is like a Zacian balance idea here against our opponent. So Zacian, Incin, Amoongus, Flutter Mane, Raging Bull, and then Urshifu, right? Pretty standard stuff. So it's just all a matter of pivoting and getting in the right spot, and then just finishing things off, right? Can I set up the Terapagos in time against everything here, right? So how do we start here? I went with Terapagos and I went with Incineroar. Very standardly here, Fake Out, Calm Mind is one thing you can do, but then he brings out the Mushroom, right? So I have to be aware of that, right? So from here, what does he do? Okay, I go Protect first. I don't want to get faked out. I don't want to get spored. He goes for Fake Out Terapagos. Okay, he tries. And I probably should have just Flare Blitz this Amoongus. All things considered, I should have just Flare Blitz this Amoongus and then pressured it next turn by, terrestrializing it and blowing it up, right? But at the time when I was, getting the feel of Terapagos, I did not find that play at that given moment. But now I found that play. All right, so he Parting Shots. I'm -1, okay? And he clicks Spore here, so that's a little unfortunate for me, okay? But then he goes back into Incin, okay? All this pivot stuff. He goes into Ursh, all right? Surging Strikes. Again, doing a little bit of chip, but, that's pretty good bulk there. And at the time, I was running, like, different bulk here, right? I burned the Urshifu, which is important, in my opinion, right? So he takes that. All right, I go into Comfey here, just to reposition. I don't want to take another attack. And then look at my Incin just like surviving the Surging Strikes. The fact that we burned an Ursh and then we're surviving Surging Strikes, now we just get to reposition and go back into Terapagos here, right? And of course, I'm just going to try and heal myself. But yeah, so now he goes into Amoongus again, right? Double burned Mons. Again, I'm still kicking myself from that other play, right? I misplayed it. But here comes Zacian, which is unfortunate. Okay, and Terapagos stays asleep, right? So Spore goes into Comfey here, so I got both things taking a nap here, right? So it's not super great. So I go into Incin here just to try and make a play, reduce Zacian's damage, right? He goes into his own Incin. Why? I'm not quite sure. But there's the close combat. We get to live just because we got that Intimidate off. But I still felt like we would have lived anyway, just because that wasn't a stab move. So there's the Fake Out. I read this wrong. I thought he would protect the Zacian. He did not protect the Zacian. All right, so I lose the Terapagos, right? So I'm just basically left with Urshifu, Incin, and Comfey here. So let's see if I can make this work. So there's the Amoongus. I go back into Comfey here. All right, he goes into Urshifu Rapid Strike, which is still fine, right? So all I'm doing now is just chipping this Comfey just to make sure this Mushroom is not doing Mushroom things, right? I'm just really trying my best to pressure it, right? So he goes back into Incin, trying to, again, reduce my close combat damage if anything, but he protects in front, so now I get to just remove the Amoongus. Comfey gets another turn to buy for sleep, okay, and this is fine, right? So now it's just Incin, Zacian, and of course the other thing in the back, his own Urshifu, that's already burned, right? So I want to keep intimidating this Zacian. He can't get Intrepid Boost anymore, right? So now the Zacian is actually -1. He goes for Swords Dance, so now he's back to +1. I just Fake Out the Zacian here. All right, I want to be able to deal and get rid of the Incineroar first, right? And worry about the Zacian later, okay? So it's all about just keeping this Incin Intimidate cycling alive, right? And I can do this because there's no clear amulet that I have to deal with. So let me go back into Comfey here. I have to make a little bit of a read, all right? Because I know that he has close combat, so that means there's no fairy move, okay? And there is the Surging Strikes. Again, going into my sleeping Comfey, not doing that much damage. Right, there's the close combat. I live even if it's +1, and I know I would live because it's not super effective. Right, so all I gotta do is just heal my Ursh. I outspeed it because I'm Scarf, right? And now the Zacian just drops, right? And now he's in big trouble because now he's just left with a burnt Ursh. Comfey is the GOAT. Comfey makes everything work. I dropped the Terapagos early because I played a little bit poorly. All right, but now because I was able to, repivot and reposition. My Urshifu, my Incin, and my Comfey were able to win me this game. This is a replay from one of our viewers using the team, so he runs into another Zacian team as well. This is the Zacian Pelipper stuff. But again, Incin, Amoongus, Raging Bolt, and instead of Flutter Mane, there is a Pelipper, so that's fine. So let's see how our viewer plays. So he goes for Terapagos and Rillaboom instead of Incin. That's pretty good. Incin and Pelipper is the way here. So he just has to be aware of them not losing the Rillaboom here. He can't click Flare Blitz, so that's good. But does he go for Fake Out and Terapagos? No, he doesn't. So it's just Hurricane damage. Okay, U-turn, re-pivot out. Okay, go into something like Incin, which is good. All right, and then from here, set up that Calm Mind, right? So that's nice. All right, Knockoff removes the Covert Cloak. So now he can start parting shotting this thing. Okay, but that's okay, right? Because you're still +1. You can still nuke things. And that's exactly what he does. He blows up the terrain here, right? Which is still okay. Ends the weather. All right, so all very useful things. Terra Starstorm, goodbye Pelipper. Nice knowing you. Incin, take some chip. So we're back to neutral. He does go for the parting shot. In comes his Ursh, and in comes the Incineroar yet again. Fake Out pressure plus Surging Strikes. So Rillaboom coming in, possibly maybe a sacrifice. Also Urshifu. So you're able to at least resist both these Surging Strikes here, but it all depends on where he's going with it. He went into the Urshifu. That's fine. Okay, you get to keep your Ursh. Another parting shot going into Ursh, right? He goes into Zacian, so now this is pretty strong. Okay, and now he has a little bit more momentum, but we outspeed the Zacian. Just remember that, okay? And he does not call this Fake Out wrong, unlike us, right? So there's Fake Out Surging Strikes into Zacian here. All right, so this is correct. Okay, and then the own Ursh, right? He goes for Surging Strikes into Rillaboom. Was this going to KO if he did that into that slot? And the answer is no. So that was very convenient for us. Okay, so a little bit more grassy terrain recovery all around. And again, we pinned this Zacian here because we outspeed it. So this is a sacrifice into Incin. That could be good. All right, Grassy Glide, a little bit of chip. All right, and then there's the Surging Strike. So goodbye Incineroar. Thanks for coming, of course. Right, so that's 2 mons down. And Zacian can still get Intimidate cycled here. Close Combat doesn't pick up, fortunately. Right, so we're that's good. And now he's trapped here with minus defenses. Right, so now we can reposition into Incin. And we outspeed this Zacian, right? So here we go. Surging Strikes comes out here, and the Zacian doesn't get enough, because it doesn't even get to try to attack, right? This is why Choice Scarf Urshifu is so good, because you can outspeed some of these normally faster threats, right? You saw it in our game, now you see it in our viewers' game, and now he has pretty much no choice but to forfeit. I also just want to acknowledge another kind of Terapagos build last night, where it did win another Hemi Turner tournament, right? So if you just click this from Danielle over here. So this is Terapagos, Incin, Rillaboom, of course, with Urshifu Rapid Strike, just like the way we do. And here's the Amoongus, right? But instead of going for something like Comfey, he has Tornadus here, right? So he's saying, I'm going to get all the healing from Amoongus, and then I'm just going to go hyper offensive here with Tornadus as opposed to clicking Trick Room on Comfey. So now everything can be fast. So now I'm going to go Tornadus, Urshifu stuff with Rain Dance, Surging Strikes, right? Terapagos, along with Amoongus can be good. And then even Terapagos under Tailwind is also an idea. So this is also another kind of concept that you can work with Terapagos. I think it also works very well. Obviously, 12-1 result is very, very good. And again, the Amoongus helps you a little bit into that Zamazenta matchup, right? And again, if you can taunt and deny those iron defenses, that's also really good. And then at the same time, you can pressure with Rain Dance, Surging Strikes. And then after that, you can just pressure with something like Calm Mind, Earth Power stuff, from there, right? So we showed you multiple types of ways of building Terapagos. Again, here's our EV spreads from the original one, right? With the Wellspring and the Urshifu, okay? And then this one over here is the second version with Sash Flutter and Raging Bolt here, with the AV set clicking Snarls and the Rillaboom being a little bit more aggressive with Grassy Glides and Wood Hammers. And then over here, this is the screens variant with Cresselia, right? Where Cresselia is your healer, okay? So there's a lot of healing. Either it's Amoongus healing, Cresselia healing, or Comfey healing, right? And then just relying on screens and Fake Out pressure to set up these Calm Minds. And then after that, the Amoongus idea, like we just showed you, is also pretty good. I like this idea from, just all things considered. I think Comfey is too good. I understand the Tornadus, which is what Danielle was doing over here. But I just feel like Trick Room and Comfey, along with Terapagos, is really, really good. But Tornadus Urshifu stuff is also still really, really good. Okay, so let me know what you think of the builds we presented here. Let me know what kind of idea you've tried with Terapagos. Okay, and if you're interested for coaching on the channel, make sure you sign up with the tier 3 sub. If you look in the video description below, as well as the pinned comment, there is a link to join the channel with the tier 3 sub. And then from there, you can get to plan a one-on-one Discord call with me, and then we can plan out your regulationG team. Okay, I can show you how to do EV spreads like this. And then from there, hopefully we can give you that team that you need to be able to start off the format. All right, but that's going to do it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.